Let's look today at some natural wood pencils from Deli. Hello everyone. I may have mentioned it before, but I have something of a soft spot in my heart for natural wood grain pencils, unpainted pencils that show off the natural grain of the wood. And here I have a selection of some such pencils from my collection, some of which I have reviewed on this channel before. Some have yet to be reviewed, and some I may never actually get to. But a subset of my collection that I'm particularly fond of. Again, we'll get to some of these in the future that we haven't gotten to yet. But today I want to focus on some newly arrived, newly purchased, still being manufactured wood grain pencils. And these come from Deli. And I've reviewed lots of Deli pencils already on this channel. One of the more recent ones I have sitting nearby, these drawing/writing pencils in 2B in a metallic green. Most Deli pencils have only a number to identify them. They don't have names like many American and European pencils. But here we are today. These arrived, purchased through AliExpress, and arrived in a flimsy gray plastic mailer, as is the norm for items purchased through AliExpress, delivered for very little in the way of money. These are unidentified by any name that I can see. I need to get this shrink wrap off so that you can see more clearly, and I can see more clearly. I'll try to put a Google Lens translation of the packaging here so you can see if there's any useful information there. Try to open this without damaging any of the pencils or myself. Okay. Every man for himself. Ten pencils, as is the norm for Asian pencils that you order. Once in a while they come in a dozen, but usually 10, either from China, Sri Lanka I've had that way, India certainly. So, return to nature, it says, which I suppose a pencil is a very natural thing, made of wood, harvested from trees, if you didn't know that. The graphite core is usually made of graphite mined from the earth, mixed with clay mined from the earth, and possibly wax, and depending on what type of wax is being used, could be a natural substance or derived from substances pulled from the earth. Doesn't really matter. Return to nature. We have a picture of a, presumably that's a horse, maybe some type of four-legged animal. To be Deli, we have a product number 58216 in a 2B grading designation. These feel like there's a very light shellac or lacquer or something, making them feel very smooth. The coloration of the wood tells me it's very unlikely to be cedar, which I would not have assumed it was based on the low price coming out of China. But I am rarely disappointed in the wood being used in Deli pencils. Whatever it is they're using is perfectly fine, acceptable wood. So let's try one of these. They are hexagonal pencils, untipped, as you can see. No painted end, no cap, just bare on both ends. Let's sharpen one up and give it a try and see how they perform. I use the Deli No sharpener here. This is the week in which, if I'm releasing this on time, in which Earth Day falls, I believe. I'm looking at the calendar right. So back to nature, good theme for or return to nature, I guess, good theme for this week. Took a nice point. You can see the line there where the two slats came together to form the pencil. Slight mismatch in the coloration of those two slats. I've never minded that. I think it gives a neat look to it. If I were more of a perfectionist in that area, that might bother me, but it does not. The core was pretty well centered, as you can tell by the shape of the cone. I didn't really look at these to see, but they look pretty well centered. Let's grab a pad of paper and try it out. These are quite smooth writing pencils, and I can feel the flat spot developing because they're so soft. There is very little, if any, grit. Very nicely made, smooth, soft number 2 pencils. What number is this again? 58216. I want to compare it with, as I always do, if I can find my Dixon Ticonderoga. There we go. This is a number 2 vintage US made Dixon Ticonderoga. Quite easy to see the difference here. Trying to use the same amount of pressure. There is no question that this is a much darker pencil. That number 2 might even be understating the case. I would have guessed that was maybe a 3B rather than a 2B, or even a 4B, just based on how smooth and dark that is. There's no question I like these. It's has some of my favorite things. It's untipped. It's a natural wood look, lightly lacquered or varnished or whatever it is they put on the outside here. Very simple design, soft and dark and smooth. This is a very nice pencil. I feel happy to have it returned to nature today. Maybe you would like to return to nature as well. If so, I will try to put a link to the seller from which I purchased these on AliExpress, and maybe you can get yourself some. Return to nature, Deli pencils. Thanks for watching this review, and I hope to see you here again next time.